Well, hello and welcome everyone. Welcome to the internet and welcome to my channel. It's me, Odio, and I'm here today to do a review for you. And I am absolutely crazy bonkers excited about this one. This is going to be my review for Godzilla Minus One. Yes, I'm a bit late to the party, but I'm happy to finally be here. So this was a gigantically great movie for me to watch. I have seen every single Godzilla movie from 1954 to now. Not all in the theater live when they came out, but I've seen them all. I used to watch them all with my brother in Japanese on VHS. We'd go down and rent from the video store, and I loved them. The action, the adventure, the horrible cheesy lines, invaders from another planet that are actually cockroaches. It had everything. It had drama. Godzilla had his child murdered at one point, his son. My goodness, it was so hardcore. And I'm glad to see the franchise is still going strong to this day. And Godzilla Minus One is a very different take on it, but it's an excellent one. And for the first time in all, I've seen them all, but this is the first time I can honestly say the human story in this was super interesting. I was very invested in the main character. I really felt for him, his sorrow, his whole story was something to really get interested. You get invested really early on, and you start to feel bad for him, but you also start to see how he gets a great arc. So it's kind of like a hero's journey. By the third act, he's come all the way around, but let's just get into it here. I'm going to get started. So the movie opens up and we're following a plane. It looks like a kamikaze pilot's plane. So this is World War II, obviously before the bombs were dropped. So he's coming in on Odo Island, and yes, if you've actually seen all the movies, you'll know that's where the first sighting of Godzilla was in 1954. It's a fictitious island, but hey, it's the same one. I love the callback, so I know right away. I'm like, whoever's doing this knows Godzilla lore. We are in for a good one. Yes. So he lands on Odo Island and says that, he's having issues with the plane, but the mechanics can't seem to find anything with it. The head mechanic seems really disappointed. He pretty much looks at this guy as a failure, and you get that vibe right away. And you realize, yeah, he's a kamikaze pilot that didn't kamikaze. One of the other mechanics kind of talks to him to make him feel better, but you can see he feels guilty, and he's going to be carrying a lot of shame for this. So he stays on the island then because it's too late for him to do anything, and it's a really cool setting, and right away sets the tone that this is a guy who wants to do the right thing, was having a hard time. And then out of nowhere, Godzilla shows up and attacks. Because, of course, Odo Island's got to have a Godzilla sighting early on, and we get one. And it's so this movie is excellent in a way. It's self-contained. You get to see the beginning of Godzilla, and you get to progress through the whole movie. So Godzilla shows up here, and he's just a giant lizard-like monster eating everyone. He's got the same kind of Godzilla roar, and everyone's kind of afraid of him, and they don't know what to do. So they tell him, hey, you're actually a pilot. Your plane has a gun. Can you get on that gun and shoot, try to save us all? So he decides to go out and try to do it, and he gets on the gun, and he freezes. And because he doesn't shoot, he might have killed Godzilla there because he's not too strong at that point, but he freezes up. And then they get scared, and some of the other men start shooting their rifles at him. They've never seen a Godzilla, so they're quite scared. And as they shoot, of course, Godzilla targets them and absolutely kills everyone. He's eating people. It's great. It's really, really cool. The Godzilla looks great in this movie. It's a mix of like CGI and I think practical effects. It's got the Godzilla roar and everything, but this one early on doesn't have the Godzilla powers, the atomic breath and everything yet. So I like that we're going to kind of see the origin of him as well. So because he doesn't pull the trigger, pretty much everyone dies. And when he wakes up, Godzilla's gone because he gets knocked out during the battle. And it's just the head mechanic guy and him that go back. And the mechanic guy is so disappointed in him for not even shooting the gun and not kamikazing. Just, you're all around a failure of life. He gives them all the pictures of the people that died so he can take that shame back to Japan with them. It's brutal. I mean, it's not his fault Godzilla attacked. We get a real frightening scene where you see the bomb drop and nuke, and then you see Godzilla's skin kind of like melt away, like he's getting irradiated or whatever. So I'm guessing that's where he's going to get his powers. But really cool looking on the screen. You only get a quick glimpse of it, but they do a good job of it. So when he gets back to Japan, his house is destroyed, his family is gone, and more sorrow is thrust upon him. It's pretty bad overall. You feel sympathy for him. He meets a homeless girl, and there's also a little 3-year-old who's lost her family, and they kind of make a new family. It's kind of nice. They live in his house. You get some really nice, touching moments with them. You get some enormous amounts of like feeling and emotion, especially from the little girl. I have a little girl, so I found her every time she cried, I felt like crying. And I've never cried in a Godzilla movie. Well, not due to the drama happening, maybe for something else, but no, I've never cried during one. I really felt for that little girl. I felt for these characters. They do a really good job with character development. And you see Japan after the war, how they're suffering. Their own government has kind of let them down. The American government doesn't want to help them. And now they're going to be having to deal with a Godzilla monster coming after them. So they don't even know that's going to happen yet. So he gets back there and he's trying to build his life for a couple of years, and he still feels a lot of guilt from the war and everything. So even though he lives with the little girl and the mother, not the mother, well, she calls her mommy and she calls him daddy, but they're not related in any way. And he never really asked her to marry him, which is strange because they lived together a long time. But he ends up looking for work, and the only work that he can find is, of course, because he was a pilot, he knows how to shoot guns. They're trying to get all the mines out of the water now that the war is over. So he gets a job going out and collecting the mines he's got a nice little crew. He's got a captain, and he's got a guy called the Doc and the Kid. Nicknames flying all around. And he goes and joins them, and they go out and they're collecting mines and all that. There's a lot of fun moments here with them bonding, trying out the gun, learning about the mines in the water. Like I said, the character development is top notch in this. So as that's his job, to shoot the mines and collect them and everything, all of a sudden they realize that Godzilla is going to be coming in out of nowhere. This huge catastrophic monster is coming in to attack Japan, and they need to stop it. But they have their army being dismantled, but they do have a warship coming, but they need to actually slow Godzilla down. And they ask them to go out in their little wooden boat and do it. And they say that, okay, we're going to go out and do it. And they're in the wooden boat because mines, some of the mines are magnetic and they attract to the hulls of boats. And because their boat's wooden, it won't do that. So because Godzilla's coming, they go out there with their mines, and he starts telling them about Shikishima is his name. I don't remember what his first name is. I'm just calling him Hero here. But yeah, Shikishima is the guy he's the one who can really shoot the mines, and he's got the only military experience on the boat, so they kind of depend on him. So when Godzilla's coming, he's also the only one who has knowledge of Godzilla, but this is a totally different Godzilla. And we come to my favorite scene in the whole movie. They are on a boat, little wooden boat, driving away from Godzilla. First you just see his back, and they try to shoot a mine to stop him, and then you see the head come up. The music in this I can't stress this enough. The musical score on this is beautiful. They bring back the old Godzilla theme from 1954. They've got new music in there. It's great at building the tension, creating the feeling they're looking for. And they do an amazing job at making Godzilla terrifying again. Like, I was scared when he was coming at the boat and the music was coming up. They're trying to stop him in multiple different ways. They even try, one of the mines blows up on him, but he's got this crazy healing factor where no matter what you do, it seems to all come back. It was out of this. It was fantastic. He's epic in this. You're frightened all around. And then finally the warship shows up, starts shooting giant cannons at him, and seems like he's going to go down, but no, he heals from those wounds, and you get his breath weapon. And let me tell you, wow, I've seen all the Godzilla movies, and I have never seen this for a breath weapon. His breath weapon is insane. The atomic breath looks like he's shooting an atomic bomb, and he shoots it up from under the water through the battleship and destroys it. It's insane. And then he's going for the mainland, so Shikishima and them are all kind of knocked out and down, and he wakes up in the hospital. Godzilla's coming for Japan, and they all have to get ready for it. But nothing they do seems to work. Godzilla comes in to attack. He's coming through a harbor. They're trying to do mines now to block him. He gets into the city. He's crushing everything. And let me tell you, the scale of Godzilla in this he's huge. The camera angles they use, you're getting a bird's eye view from a human side. Like, you're looking up at this gigantic monster. His feet look so cool, and he moved really slow. Like, he was having a hard time dealing with all of his bulk, which makes sense because he wasn't that big not long ago and he's been irradiated. And when he's destroying the buildings and everything, Shikishima realizes that his new wife is, not his wife yet, but the new girl he loves is down close to where Godzilla's coming. So he runs down to save her so she doesn't get hurt, and he finds her. And Godzilla's just destroying all the buildings. You get some really nice shots. It's really cool. And he just turns out and lets out that awesome Godzilla roar. And then they're shooting tanks and missiles, but nothing stops him. And he uses his breath weapon here. And I thought it looked cool before, before, but when it comes out here, it is awesome. When it hits, it looks like an atomic bomb going off. Smoke goes out. It's just a big shock wave. It was crazy. And the girl he went to save there, she pushes him aside, and she gets taken away in the shockwave, and then he thinks she's dead. So now it's and he gets knocked out. He looks up at Godzilla though before he gets knocked out. It's an awesome scene. Godzilla is just so destructive in this. Like, his breath weapon has never looked like this. It's amazing. It's so fun to see. It's such a great way to portray it on the screen. Anyway, then he gets knocked out, and next time he wakes up, they realize that Godzilla is pretty much not going to stop. They don't know. They got to think up a new plan. And then they realize that guy Doc, who's on the ship with them, he's actually a super pretty high up guy in the military or in the government. So he develops this big plan on what they're going to do to, like, drop Godzilla down a crazy depth and bring him back up to see if that will, like, kill him. And then Shikishima actually finds a kamikaze plane, but it's something everything's been decommissioned. So they get some ships and everything, but they don't have the cannons and the guns from it. So they have developed this fancy plan to get Godzilla. And Shikishima actually gets the plane. He's ready to go. There's a pretty cool montage where that old head mechanic comes back and they're getting the plane ready to go, loading it up with bombs and everything. So they don't have machine guns and things. So they're like, yeah, you're just going to have to bomb right into it. And it seems like he's going to do it and leave the 3-year-old with his neighbor. And she cries a couple times. And again, it's so hard. It's really good. It pulls on the emotional strings for you. And then he gets the plane all set up and ready to go. And he has to lead Godzilla to where the destroyers are. And they're going to try to get him out into the water to enact their plan. And that's kind of what the third act builds up to. Then we get it all going, and the final act starts to take place. So it takes a while to get going, but when it gets going, it is fantastic. It's exciting. There's a lot of fun in it too. Like, you really want to see them fight Godzilla. You really want to see if the plan's going to work or not. You want to see if they're going to be victorious. I loved it. It was really good. So he's got to fly his plane, Shikishima does. He's got to get Godzilla to follow him out to the water. You get some tense moments where he almost gets bits and things, and he gets him out there, and they enact their whole plan on Godzilla. They've got these chemical bombs going off. They've got these chains. They've got all the destroyers going in a pattern. They've got Shikishima flying around. It's fantastic. It's just, there's a lot of energy going. It's so good. And Godzilla comes in, and when he first gets there, you get to see his breath weapon fired on one of these destroyers. And again, just like an atomic blast when it hits, it's just epic. Glorious to see on the screen. You realize Godzilla is the biggest threat that they've ever faced, and they don't even have guns on their destroyers to fight him. So it's going to be a tough one for them. So we get a gripping final fight. We get that chase coming in with the plane. We get all the destroyers trying to enact the plan. They're trying to, like, drop Godzilla down in the deep, deep water. Finally, it starts to work, but then they can't pull him back up. Then out of nowhere, all the community comes together because there was no army or anything. Everyone who's out here on these boats had to actually volunteer. They all just came from losing a war and had to go back out on warships without weapons to fight a monster. And they had no support from the government at all. But they still did it. These were all men of honor. They went out to do the right thing because it was the right thing to do. And it was only them that could fight Godzilla, so they went to do it. But you see all these ships show up, and they're all starting to help them as they're all trying to pull Godzilla up out of the water as quickly as they can. And when he gets up out of the water, he is not looking good. But he's also not looking happy. And he's going to try to blow them all up. And then, of course, we get the kamikaze plane coming in. And will he finally do it? Will he fulfill his destiny of being a kamikaze pilot? And he just smashes in, and just Godzilla's head just explodes everywhere. And he just, like, crumbles down out of nowhere. And you're like, wow, it's an amazing, epic scene. And did he survive? Did he not survive? But oh yeah, he does survive, because unlike the kamikaze planes of the day, his actually had an ejector seat. So he makes it out and parachutes down. And when he gets back, he gets not only to take care of the 3-year-old, the girl that's going to be his new wife, she's not dead. He actually finds her in a hospital, and he wipes her up pretty quick, I'm sure, after all this. And we get a great end of the Godzilla, and then there's a little after credit scene where we see a piece of Godzilla's body down under the water starting to regenerate. All around fantastic. I hope that he gets to do another one. This was an amazing experience. Even if you don't consider it a Godzilla movie, the storyline, the character development, the overall arc was really well done. You're interested in what everyone has to say, and the entire movie is subtitled. I don't watch many subtitled movies, but I didn't mind this at all. The story and the plot and the acting carry everything forward, and Godzilla is back to being terrified. You're scared of him. He's massive. He's huge in this, and he looms over every scene, even the ones he's not in. Overall, one of the best movies I've seen of this year for sure, without a doubt. I recommend it to everyone. Go on out, check out Godzilla Minus One however you can. And thanks so much for watching this far, guys. Really appreciate it, and stay out of trouble, everyone.